There's a lot of weirdness in the market this morning. Tariffs are definitely back in the news, with Canada back as part of the naughty list. And pharma is coming next. There's going to be the big up increases in tariffs on pharma. Now, I'm not sure if this is related to the tariffs at all, but there's huge volatility right now on the upside in silver, gold, and Bitcoin in particular. Also, 10-year bonds spiking this morning in terms of yields. But the VIX is actually headed down after a minor spike back into the 16 range, which is not particularly volatile. So, not sure. That's a bunch of mixed information that is unusual, at least worth paying attention to. This comes from Muskonomy this morning. Breaking: Tesla is officially listed as an autonomous vehicle testing permit holder in California. According to the DMV, of June 1st of 2025, Tesla is cleared to at least test drive, I'm sorry, not least, to test drive self-driving vehicles with a safety driver on public roads across the state. All right, no time to follow up on that this morning or look into the details. Yesterday, we were hearing that Elon Musk said we're still working on permits. So I don't think this is the permit that Elon is looking for. That would be my guess, because we also had reporting that the current permitting was not what was necessary to do what they want to do now. So this is clearly he showed the receipts. Clearly they have this with a safety driver, but that may mean a true driver sitting in the driver's seat, as opposed to what I'm calling a safety rider. I think it's way funnier. Anyway, that's just me. So a little bit up in the air so far. Sawyer Merritt says this. He says, Transport Canada found zero evidence, none, not at all, of fraud or wrongdoing by Tesla in its investigation into the company's $43 million in rebate claims under the Incentives for Zero Emission Vehicles program. The probe, which was launched after Tesla filed 8,653 claims over a single weekend in January 2025, has cleared the automaker, confirmed that the submissions were lawful and compliant with program rules. Tesla will now receive that $43 million that was previously frozen. Yay for us. Yahoo Finance has got this today. He says Tesla will release its second quarter 2025 results after the market close on July 23rd. Investors will watch for the EV maker's top line trends amid ongoing production and demand challenges. Well, yeah, top and bottom line. Analysts are now I don't know why it says top line when then it talks about bottom line immediately. They can't figure these things out. Analysts are forecasting an adjusted EPS of 30 cents. That's down about 29% from the 42% in last year's third quarter. For full fiscal 2025, consensus now calls for EPS of $1.39, which was also a decline of about 30% compared to all of 2024. Now, they're also projecting a rebound to $2.40 and almost doubling in 2026. And I would, of course, think that all of those are wrong because nobody's taking into consideration the amazing third quarter that Tesla's about to have, followed by an incredible fourth quarter and an epic 2026. And I forget what 2027 is going to be. But anyway, Tesla business spans automotive and energy generation and storage segments, each facing distinct headwinds. Why is the energy generation and storage facing headwinds? I don't know of any. In quarter one, automotive revenues slipped 19.6% year over year, offset partially by gains in energy storage and services, with total sales down 9.2% to $19.3 billion. Okay, so that, total sales, yeah, we understand total sales, but energy was up. Don't know what the headwinds are. The company has a mixed surprise history, beating EPS estimates twice and missing twice over the past 4 quarters. Investors will gauge whether cost cuts and price adjustments can offset margin pressure. Whether cost cuts and price adjustments can offset margin pressure. Investors will gauge, what does that even mean? By the way, I'm going to be talking later about veracity in reporting. Barron's, Tesla stock dropped early Friday on what was a difficult week for investors. Not only was there another spat between President Trump and CEO Elon Musk, investors need to consider what a battery supplier's actions might mean for any recovery in sales of electric vehicles. Tesla stock was down 0.5% in pre-market trading. This is up now, while S&P 500, although I will find out in a minute whether it still is, it was really kind of teetering around the middle. Average futures were down. Yeah, definitely everything's down right now, except for Tesla. Coming into Friday's trading, Tesla stock was about 2% for the week. Shares dropped 7% on Monday after Musk over the weekend said he was starting a new political party, and that drew criticism from Trump. Okay, Friday, investors might be thinking more about batteries and less about politics. Panasonic is slowing its ramp up of battery production in the U.S., according to Nikkei. Panasonic and Tesla didn't immediately respond. Panasonic makes batteries in Nevada, has a sister plant in Kansas, slated to host its grand opening this month. The Kansas plant was expected to reach full production of 30 gigawatt hours annually by 2027. The goal is apparently under review. So it doesn't say that it's going to be reducing that goal. It doesn't say that it's not going to be starting out at current levels. Yeah, this is another one of those cases where, yeah, it doesn't really give us the answer from the headline. Cathie Wood's, according to The Street, Cathie Wood's love affair with Tesla didn't start yesterday. No kidding. Her first bet on Elon Musk started in 2016 when her Ark Innovation ETF scooped up its first shares of Tesla stock. Since then, she's consistently pulled the trigger on the stock, forming roughly 8.5% of Ark's entire portfolio. That was about $840 million in value. On top of that, Wood's Tesla thesis has never been shy. She called it one stock to rule them all. Wood feels that Tesla is above anything that combines the hottest trends in robotics, energy storage, and AI, backed by Musk's relentless drive. In all fairness, Cathie's known for tossing out Tesla price targets that make jaws drop. In 2018, her team shook Wall Street by predicting Tesla stock would skyrocket to 4,000 in just 5 years from 300 at the time. Even in 2025, with Tesla stock taking a beating, Wood hasn't blinked. She's still pounding the table on her 2,600 target for Tesla within 5 years, pointing to robotaxis and Optimus to drive the next leg of growth. That's partially true. The 2,600 is 100% based on what? On robotaxi. And she has not yet increased her overall estimate based on Optimus. So come on, guys, get it right. This is Randy Kirk, by the way, and thank you, Stephen W., for joining Patreon. We need more like you to help support the channel. It would be great if some more would do that. But you already know that if you're watching the channel on a regular basis, that helps more than any other single thing. And then, of course, if you like and subscribe and hit notify, those are phenomenal things to do. Commenting down below, that really helps me to understand what people are thinking about what I'm saying, about what my guests are saying, about my guests in general, whether you like them or not. All those things add up to ways to support what we're doing here. And hopefully what you're coming here for a different kind of analysis, and maybe some of the same thing that Elon talks about, which is the truth. I work really hard at getting that right. Again, we're going to talk more about that in a minute. We are doing it wrong. Did you know that? We're doing it wrong. America added 56 gigawatts of energy production all of last year, mostly from solar. China added 93 gigawatts last month. It says actually in a month. So maybe that was their top month. So I got to be careful and get it true. Just for comparison, the last American nuclear power plant was completed in 2024. It took 11 years to build and cost $35 billion in order to get to 1 gigawatt of power. And Elon Musk responds to this little short note, something about which we're talking about a lot on this channel, and Elon's talking a lot. Elon responds, true. Susan Collins is the chairperson chair lady, I don't know, of the Appropriations Committee, and she's holding up that first rescission bill in Congress. She's worried about some funding for AIDS prevention in Africa. The article that I was reading points out that these countries can take care of their own AIDS programs in Africa. They don't need the United States. The bill needs to pass. This is $9 billion that needs to go in rescission. If we're going to get down the pathway that Elon set with the Doge Commission, it just needs to happen. Republicans are going to maintain, if Republicans are going to maintain credibility, they need to do something with Susan Collins. I'm not sure what I'm suggesting. Maybe she needs to lose that chairmanship, chairpersonship, chair. Maybe she needs to lose the chair. Barron says this: the new levy, which was double the market's expectation, this will be the new levy on copper, which was double the market's expectation, was expected to come in November or later, after the deadline for completion of the so-called Section 232 investigation ordered by Trump on how imports impact national security. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, however, said Tuesday that the new tariffs could be in place by the end of the month. The U.S. imports about 50% of its copper that it consumes each year across a host of important sectors, including housing, transportation, construction, and the generation of electricity. The near 1.7 million tons it runs through each year amounts to about 7% of global demand. But that figure is going to grow much larger, doesn't say much, I'm adding that, to grow larger over the coming years as the U.S. builds out the vast electrical infrastructure needed to power the nascent artificial intelligence revolution. The accelerating shift towards clean energy, AI-driven digital infrastructure, and electrification is laying the foundation for a sustained structural demand growth, said Ole Hansen, head of commodity strategy at Denmark's Saxo Bank. If supply continues to lag, concentrated by underinvestment in new mines and refining capacity, copper prices are poised to remain volatile and trend higher. U.S. Energy Information Administration says domestic consumption will hit record highs this year. It expects overall demand to rise by 50% from current levels over the next 25 years. And I've been talking about this and talking about this and talking about this on this channel. Larry's been talking about copper as the canary in the coal mine. And we've seen, copper trending higher up to $5, and then over $5 last a few weeks to like around $5.12. And then when the tariff news came out to $5.50 plus. So that's what we're seeing right now. So overall, maybe a 10% increase based on the tariffs. But if this gets the copper mines in the United States to double down, that's what we need to happen. In the near term, AI data centers are likely to require enormous amounts of copper to meet the capacity needs. Boston Consulting Group estimates data centers now using 82,000 megawatts of power will be eating up an extra 45,000. So from 82,000, adding another 45,000 in 2029. That increase will require 1.2 million metric tons of copper. According to the Copper Association, copper's superior conductivity is vital to powering the surge in electricity demand from data centers and is also a key component in their build-out. Upgrading global energy grids, electrical vehicle production, and adding alternative energy sources are also long-term drivers of copper demand. Tariffs on copper will make all of these endeavors more expensive. It will take years for the U.S. to replace imported copper with new domestic production capacity, according to this article. But as I reported yesterday, based on Grok's analysis, not so much. That we have tremendous numbers of mines already in production, and these are possible to increase production. Steep levies on copper will have an immediate impact on the housing market. The CDA estimates each new home contains nearly 440 pounds of copper in wiring, plumbing, and appliances. The metal is also found in roofing, gutters, and cladding. Tariffs on lumber and steel, together with levies on other goods from Canada and Mexico, will add nearly $11,000 to the cost of a new home, according to the National Association of Home Builders. Talking earlier this spring, copper tariffs will take this even higher. I have tremendous doubts about that $11,000 number. I think maybe we need to feed that one to Grok and see how true that is. Because of course those guys have a dog in that hunt. Collectively, the cost increases will also filter through into inflation readings, both at the factory gate level and the consumer price index. That won't only slow consumption in other sectors, but also reinforce the case for the Federal Reserve to continue with its current wait-and-see approach with regard to inflation. Well, there is no doubt that if you raise the price of copper, and copper moves through the entire system like oil does, that it's going to have some kind of an impact on inflation, but not necessarily a more than transitional one or transitory one. I know I used the word, but it's a price increase. Yeah, it is the way that it's going to have an impact is it's going to discourage imported low-cost copper, and it will encourage the U.S. to make more copper domestically. That is the goal of this one. So it is a strategic goal rather than an economic goal, and we have to keep those in the correct hands. This is not being done specifically to onshore production for economic reasons. It's being done for strategic reasons. Copper has long been described as the metal with a PhD in economics, giving its link to price movements. Advancements in AI, electrical vehicles, and green energy and battery technologies have not only solidified its reputation, but enhanced it. So, next story. Elon is desiring to, this is my story. This is no credit to anybody else except Grok, who helped me write this story. Elon is desiring to rewrite the entire corpus of knowledge in X so that it can get to the truth. But it is currently using Wikipedia, the New York Times, and Salon as its most common sources, at least in my research, and other people have reported this as well. I've studied methods for how to look at papers, articles, and even websites in order to get hints as to bias and outright false statements. My wife is also a literature professor, and she's done this as well. We discussed it last night. Using my basic understanding and adding Grok's own list, here are some things Grok could be doing as it evaluates the entire corpus of human understanding and knowledge to get it right, so that when we do our research, we can count on Grok to be correct. First of all, go to our headlines are a real hint. Also, headlines that are clickbait, or where the article never answers the question in the headline, or where the headline makes a statement that seems a little bit odd or untruthful to begin with. Then if you're going to read the article, you got to read it more skeptically if any of those things are there. That's a beginning point. At the other end of the article, so you got the headline, then you got the footnotes. So it's a lot of websites and some articles will have footnotes, or they will have links where you can go look for more information or look to see the sourcing material that they used for the article. And sometimes, do you believe it? This is true. Sometimes articles and websites will use those links as and those footnotes as a way to sound like they have proof. But then if you click on the link or you check out the footnotes, they don't even exist. Or if they do exist, they don't support the article at all or support the website. Sometimes the footnotes that you go to have nothing to do with the article. It's just horrible. I've done this many, many, many times in doing my research because I want to get it right. So that's another way you can check. If you're looking through an article and you're like, man, I don't know, this seems a little, I'm not 100%. Again, I'm just telling Grok, you could do this. It's so easy for you to check every single footnote and check every single link to make sure that they're supportive of the article. So Grok, that's another way you can do it. So headlines, footnotes, links. Are there any advertisers who stand to gain? That's another thing. It's easy for Grok to check. Now then, this is from Grok. Evaluate the source credibility. Research the publication or website's reputation using tools like, well, maybe these tools aren't even so great because Grok isn't telling the truth yet. So looking into tools like Media Bias, Fact Check, or Wikipedia. See? This needs to change. There are other sources out there that you can use, but also Grok can get its own list. It can start to, like I do. I know that I trust Barron's way more than I trust the Wall Street Journal news page. I trust the Wall Street Journal's editorial page more than I trust the news, etc. I know that I trust MSNBC not at all. And I know that I tend to trust the video section of CNBC more than I trust their news section, etc. So Grok could end up having their own kind of analysis and then keep checking that analysis as they see more and more evidence of overall truthfulness. You can look for established outlets with a history of accuracy versus those known for sensationalism or misinformation. Then you can check for evidence of bias. Identify if the article favors one side or the other politically, ideologically, or financially. Scan for loaded language, unbalanced viewpoints, or affiliations, sponsored content, ownership ties, etc. that could be skewing the narrative. But you definitely want to look for biased language, okay? Analyze for the tone even of the language. Assess whether the writing is natural and factual or emotional and hyperbolic, inflammatory. I'll give you a real good clue. Objective articles use measured language. Biased ones often employ words like outrageous or shocking to provoke reactions. I use shocking in my my thumbnails commonly because it helps to get people in, and it's clickbait. That's right. I'm admitting it. Verify facts with multiple sources. Cross-referencing key claims, statistics, or quotes with at least two independent, reputable sources. Discrepancies may indicate fabrication or exaggeration. Again, this is something that Grok can do so much faster than you and I can do it. And it's another way for you to check sources too. When you're doing an article on Grok, you can say, hey, Grok, check more sources, or you can tell deeper dive, or you could say things like, don't use any sources that you know to be biased to the liberal side or biased to the conservative side, or only use sources that seem to be neutral, or things like that. You can give it those kind of prompts to potentially get to a greater truth. Examine the supporting evidence. Ensure that claims are backed by data, studies, expert opinions when that seems to be appropriate. Vague references like studies show without links, or most people feel, or the general, the scientists say. Yeah, right? Look for logical fallacies, spot errors in reasoning, such as ad hominem attacks, straw man arguments, false dichotomies, or appeals to emotion instead of evidence, which undermine the article's reliability. Assess the author's own credentials. Again, something that Grok can do so much better than we can do. Look into the writer's background, his expertise. Look at other articles that have been written. Is there an inclination to write in one sphere or another? Always believing a certain set of data rather than being balanced. How about detect omissions or cherry picking? Check if the article ignores counter evidence or presents only selective facts to support its theory. A truthful piece provides a balanced view of available information. And then review the timeliness and the context. A lot of people are putting up articles today, especially on X, that are years old, pictures that are months old or years old. I did that the other day and got caught, but gosh darn, guys, it was not relevant to the article. It was just a picture of laborers. I was just only showing laborers. It wasn't trying to show it in any context other than a bunch of laborers standing there. So, but commonly pictures are being used that are truly years old, are the wrong place, the wrong time. And not just pictures, but also in the article. The articles themselves sometimes are a year old or 2 years old. And you look up there and you go, oh my gosh, look at that. That was July of last year. And you've already been buying into whatever's being suggested. Anyway, those are a few approaches. Those are, I think, the most important approaches that you personally can use. But I'm sending this to you, Elon. One more note to Elon. Here are great methods for determining the truthfulness of articles that Grok can use right now to help you get to this corpus of truth in all of the content that you put up. Okay, Trump this morning, apparently the truth is, according to Rasmussen, which is a much more accurate poll out there, Trump is down to 48%, which actually up a little bit from yesterday, but down from kind of the 50, 51 area he's been. This is not shocking right now. True inflation is at 1.67. I'm not sure whether true inflation is true or not, but I'm trusting it again for now. And for now, we're going to call it, yes, we're at 1.67. And over time, we'll see if they throw in another batch of data, which then revises months of data, which have done in the past. But at least for now, I am going to give them another chance. The VIX is up 1% this morning, but falling. We'll check that again here just in a second. In fact, why don't we start with Tesla, which is now down 0.89% at 308.98. It has been up, it's been down. It's been down more than that this morning, and also has been in the green at some points. We've got the VIX, since I just talked about that, is now up 0.61, but that's only at 1639. So that is not a volatile place. And it is also headed down, so it's getting less and less volatile by the minute. The Dow Jones is down 259. NASDAQ down, I'm sorry, let's go to percentages. The Dow is down 0.58%. The NASDAQ is down 0.09 only. The S&P is down 0.34. And again, Tesla down 0.30. We've got the Magnificent Seven is mixed, mostly up, actually. Meta is down, Apple's down, and Tesla's down, but the rest are up. We have got the Cathie Woods. Man, but they have been volatile this morning, up and down like crazy. But last time I checked, as mentioned in the lead-in, the bond yields were screaming higher, and that typically would send the Cathie Woods down, and they are down pretty heavily right now. PayPal down 1.32, Ark down 1.81. So, but they've been all over the place, jumping around. So Tesla this morning is more like a Cathie Wood, bouncing around quite a bit. Are the kind of stocks that Cathie Woods follows. For those of you who are new, these are companies that tend to be disruptive, like Tesla, and also tend to have the bond movements tend to move the stock. All right, that's why I call out the Cathie Woods every day. All right, let's go ahead and look at those bonds. Oops, wrong hit. Let me go. Here we go. The bonds right now, yeah, doing a little better. They were up over 6 basis points earlier. They're up 5.7 though. That's still a big move to 4.4. This is just nonsense. I just don't get it. It makes no sense to me, but that's what it's doing. Excuse me. Oil up $1.59. I've mentioned to you the last couple of days, there are some shortages, or not shortages. That's the wrong word. The supply is low right now, especially in the United States. And so that's probably why oil is up right now. But there's a lot of oil coming on stream, so I would expect this to drop. Natural gas up 1.59, but still in its normal range, 3.39. But all of that moving higher this morning. I mean, it's oil up 2.36 and natural gas up 1.59. That is certainly moving a lot. We've got gold also up 1.37 or $45 to 3.371. You got silver up 3.87 to 38.75. That is an all-time high, and it's sitting, I'm pretty sure, at the high for the day. Copper down a tad, down 0.88, but it's sitting at $5.55. No, $5.54. Sterling is slipping this morning, but the Japanese, the dollar is up. Dollar's up against the euro, down against the Japanese, so mixed. I'm sorry, I've got a super itch in the nose right now. I just can't get rid of it. Bitcoin up 4,203 after being up dramatically yesterday, is now sitting at 117,600. That's crazy time. All right, so so as mentioned earlier on, lots of movement this morning, lots of activity, and yet the VIX is calm. So don't exactly know. I like to give an analysis. I like to be able to say, this is why. But this morning, everything's all over the place, and there's not a lot of connectivity to what's happening. So maybe some things are impacting the bond market, like, for instance, the tariff noise, more, and affecting equities more. I don't know. it's probably tariff noise more than anything right now that's impacting everything. So, and that would be the headline on CNBC as well. If they're certainly talking about tariffs on CNBC. All right. Later on today, you've got, what do we got today? We got Brian Wang and maybe Cern Basher or maybe Phil Beisel. So I don't know which one is going to be which, but Brian Wang for sure. And the other ones that maybe whoever's not tonight will be tomorrow morning. And I've got another weekend. I can barely fit it all in. I am working on getting Jeff Lutz on over the weekend. I have a big story I want to do with Jeff. And I've got lots of other stuff already in the plan for the weekend. So make sure you hang in there all weekend. Make sure you hit notify so you're there all weekend long. All right, I got to wrap this up. I've gone long. It has been great talking to you.